it's only 17% of borrowers go back to the same lender.
What's called the big red button that I hit.
Hey, remember that?
Right?
And, oh yeah.
Everybody, welcome back to another edition of Laugh Underneath the podcast, and we have a full panel. Oh yeah, we're excited down here already. If anybody who's not watching this show should be watching it because Suha's already dancing in her little corner here. That's always a good start of the show. We are doing a edition this week called Women in Mortgage, and while that's a heavily discussed topic, I'm not original with that topic. It's something that I think we try to do really well here on Laugh Underneath, where we showcase certain women that we've met along the way. We want to bring them up and talk to them, get their opinions on what's going on, what's not going on, what's right, what's wrong, what could be better. So I'm going to go around the horn and introduce everybody in no particular order. So we have Corrina Carter of CMS. We were just discussing her initials on the mortgage company. And we might have a T-shirt giveaway if someone can figure out what CMS stands for. I don't know. We'll think about that. We have Corrina Vergara from First Option, branch manager in Atlanta Mortgage. How you doing, Corrina? I'm glad you could make it. I'm glad the link worked at the end. It was my fault. I probably sent you the wrong link, so it's my fault. Never blame yourself. Always blame me.
The computer, totally the computer's fault. I don't know who did.
Perfect. Love that. And then we have Suha Zehl, Chief Innovation Officer from BlackFin Group. How you doing, Suha? And she's down in the Lightning capital. By the way, I just connected the dot. I'm so stupid, right? That's why they're called Tampa Bay Lightning.
Exactly. Hello.
Yeah, I'm like a Pakistani blonde. Okay. It just takes me like about 10 years to figure stuff out, but I'll get it.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for having us. This is wonderful.
No, like I said, I mean, this is a topic that's discussed a lot. So once again, I'm not unique in this. We all have a friend by the name of Christine Beckwith that is quite a spearhead of this topic and discussions around this. And so obviously being around Christine as much as we're all around her, it rubs off, right? And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that all three of you guys are Women with Vision Award winners from 2021, just recently in Tampa Bay a weeks ago. We were all down there together.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have that because, look, I mean, the thing with here's some facts that I discovered for this episode. And this is about loan officers. So I know, Corrina, you're in the loans. Corrina, I don't know what you do. And so I think you're more technical. Right? but
random people off the street on your podcast.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. You're good. You're good for the commentary on the LinkedIn. So there are 216,000 loan officers as of 2022, which is a lot, right? 216,000. If you actually think about that number, it's huge. Of that, 44% of them are women, which has come up, right? Huge. So since 2010, it was 41%. And so 2022, it's up to 44.7%. So I think that's a pretty drastic change in the demographics as far as they can move. Corrina, you're shaking your head, so I'm going to start off with you. I mean, when you hear that kind of number and it's going in that trajectory, in that direction, I mean, how do you feel good about it? Do you feel it could be better? I mean, give me your thoughts on that.
I actually feel great about it. So I'll give you a little background. So I teach CE for loan originators too. And when I was teaching the loan originators how to get licensed and doing the 20-hour course in 2010, 11, and 12, I guarantee 80% of my class was male. And the other 10 to 15% that were female, most of them worked in operations. Okay. So I probably had 2 female loan officers in each class, maybe 3 at best, of an average class size between 25 and 35. And if I had a couple extra, most of them were in the operation side, processing side, or closing and getting licensed. So I feel great about it. I see everywhere a me, and I see a lot of young ladies wanting to be leaders in the mortgage industry. So I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Corrina, you have such an interesting story how you got in the mortgage business. I don't want to not talk about it. And guys, you got to hear the story because when I heard it a few months ago in Atlanta, I was floored by when she. I don't know if you remember telling me the story. It was a few drinks in. Who knows? Maybe you don't want it out in the public, but it is here now. I mean, but you
I
have
don't
a
even
very
remember.
interesting. Excuse me.
I don't remember.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. No big deal. Let's talk about how you got your start in the mortgage business, if you don't mind telling us how you got your start.
So I started in the mortgage business a long time ago, right after I graduated from high school. I didn't want to go to college. I was like, it's not for me. I came from school where it was very wide American. They were just asking me, "Can you say apple?" And I was just repeating myself because they like my accent. So it just felt awkward. So I was like, I don't do this. I don't want to go to college. And a friend of mine invited me to do real estate, and I started as a loan officer assistant. Well, I started in a lot. I've done processing, I've done junior underwriting, and then one day, yeah, and then here I am. But I don't think there's.
Now, what made
I
you
don't
actually
remember
make that?
which part I told you.
Yeah, what made you switch from being a operations to a salesperson?
I'm a salesperson hard, and I've been doing sales since I was in school. I used to sell brownies. I used to sell a bunch of stuff. And when I came here and I learned about the estate business, I didn't want to sell. It wasn't for me driving around. But when I understand numbers, when I look at all the paperwork, very organized, I was like, this is for me, and this is the career I wanna do. So it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sue, I mean, you're coming in with a different slant, and it's pretty interesting when I read your bio. Because sometimes you meet people and you talk to you don't really understand their bio till they come on the show, right? And you're coming in with a lot of innovation and a lot of technology that loan officers are adapting in a day-to-day life. We don't even really understand how easy our life is until, like, for me, right? I've been doing this since 1994. I think, Corrina, you've been in. So when we see the changes in how a loan goes from start to finish, at that point, you begin to appreciate people like what Suha's doing, right? Because you're coming in and adapting technology for us. I mean, you've been doing this for a while. I mean, what changes have you seen? Let's start off with just the technology platform for right now and talk about that for a second.
Oh my God, if you look at technology and where it was, I entered the mortgage industry in 2002. So I've been in it for about 20 years. I'm actually a technology trained person. I actually graduated from computer science. So I'm strictly technology. I'm not sales. I'm not business development. I was a programmer when I first started out. And then I stumbled into the mortgage industry back in 2002.
We all did. We all stumbled into
I
it.
know, we all do. It's like that rabbit hole that you cannot get out of. And when I joined, if I look at what the tech stack looked like, I mean, you were lucky if you had a Windows-based LOS, loan origination system. There was none of this integration, none of this push one button and everything happens. There was no document integration. There was so many few things that were automated. And you look at where we are today, and you actually have organizations that can actually close a file, within the regulatory guidelines within 10, 12 days. That's incredible these days when you think about it. And putting the right technology in the right person's hand is really important. We talk about the customer experience, and it's great, but we also cannot forget that our employees are also customers, and they have to adopt the technology that you bring in, that it has to make their lives easier and simpler as well. I'll give you an example. This happened to me 3 weeks ago. My phone died. Talk about technology. My phone died. I mean, literally, my phone died. I could not call anybody. I could not receive text. I could not check my email, nothing.
Wow.
And I had to call AT&T, sorry, plug for them here, because they actually were wonderful. And they actually sent me a brand new phone within 2 days. But I was without my phone for 2 days.
How'd you feel? How'd you feel?
So disconnected, unbelievably disconnected, but rejuvenated at the same time, because I wasn't constantly looking at my phone. I wasn't constantly trying to answer an email or a text or something. So there's something to be said about disconnecting from technology for a while. But yeah, I mean, your question was, what changes have I seen? It's been an incredible ride.
Well, I mean, when you talk about the phone, think about this. In 2002, no one was thinking about doing an application on a cell phone.
Absolutely.
We were just happy that we could take pictures.
Mhm.
These selfies were just coming out in 2002, right? So I mean,
Yep.
to be able to do a loan application and disclose and look at people's credit scores all on a cell phone,
Yeah.
not ever logging into any kind of network or encrypted stuff, it's just amazing.
And
So
just
let me
wait
ask you a
until the
question, Suha.
metaverse, before you go on, just wait
Sure.
until the metaverse takes hold
No,
of where we go.
I'm hoping that I'm retired by then, so I don't want to be. I saw Stranger Things. I didn't like the way the metaverse ended up. So let me ask you a question here, because you're talking about adoption, right? So I got to ask, right? I mean, and maybe you don't, and I don't know if you can answer it, but I'm just going to ask it, right?
Sure.
Are men more resistant or are women more resistant to new technology?
I think there's a statistic out there, and I don't quote me on it, but I'm going to share what I believe I know. I think it says that 68% of women are more open to adopt technology than men. Men are more resistant to change than women are. Because women, we juggle so many things, we handle so many things. We're open to things that simplify our lives more because we have so many balls in the air, if you pardon my expression there. So
You're talking about men, might as well just throw that up there.
What can I say? But I think it's, I mean, that statistics may not be very accurate, but I think it's incredible because it speaks to how willing we are to adapt and adopt when it makes our life simpler.
Yeah. So speaking of adopting, I got to go to Corrina on this one, because Corrina, I know you pretty well, you know what I mean? And so when we talk about adoption, pivoting, you know what I mean, moving to the next level of our life, to, you know what I mean? I can't think of a better example on the screen right now than you, right? I mean, we can all go back to 2008 and that amazing time where you made a decision of, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, how are you with adoption and pivoting and that moment?
On a usual basis, I think I am really good at it, and that's something that I kind of try and forecast that go along with my goals. But this year, I have to be honest with you, Bobby, it was really hard. Like, it was harder for me, I think, because just of age and just stability. But before I figured out, like, why are we so young? Could I pivot? I moved across country at 23 with 2 kids and didn't know anybody. Like, you didn't have any family. We didn't have cell phones then, So, and that was like, okay, no big deal to me. But then now deciding what to do with my business next or how we were going to do it, it really came a little bit of a harder struggle now. But in 2008, I created a separate company. I created the training company. I opened my doors there to train loan officers while the mortgage crisis was going on. So therefore, I could keep my mortgage doors open. But I just want to say one thing. Going back to the first question, the first company I was employed with in 1997 had 52 loan officers and 2 women. One woman didn't come to work all the time as a loan officer, and the other woman, she was a real hustler. And it took us 9 months to convince our boss to hire us, me and my best friend, as loan officers, because those were the only 2 saleswomen in the whole company.
Wow.
So I go back to, we've come a long ways as far as the ladies go, right?
Yeah.
But pivoting right now is a big deal. It's huge. Even talking to my employees, talking to my peers, talking to my coaching group is like, are we really doing enough for ourselves right now? Right?
So let me stay with this for a second, Corrina, because in '94 you brought back just a memory, right? I know that I was at a company and we had about, I think, maybe 30, 40 LOs, and I can't remember a female loan officer.
Mm-mm.
But what I do remember is all the processors were female, right? Closings were female. And I remember getting a male processor and thinking how odd that was.
Yeah.
It was really weird. Like I saw this guy, he was a processor, right? And Carolina, I mean, think about it. I mean, no matter how you're programmed, when you see a man, at least, back, especially in 94, 95, it was like, well, what's wrong with him? Why can't he be a loan officer? Right? I mean, I literally had that thought, and it was awkward talking to him about my files.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience anything like that, guys? I mean, Carolina, Corrina, anyone? You two?
Yeah, I actually hired one, and I turned him a month and a half. I was like, "You need to be a loan officer. Let's get that license." It it was really tough. I was like, I could do it. They can do it. He's very smart. He has 3 degrees, 3 languages. He can do it. Yeah, no, he couldn't.
Yeah,
It was
I
tough. It was tough.
I think the mindset for operations is very organized, compartmentalized. You know what I mean? I was an underwriter for about 2.5 years. And being an underwriter was like the worst job for a guy like me. I was literally stuck in the office, no windows, you know what I mean? And I was buried in these files. And I remember the last file I worked on, I literally never forget this. The guy was yelling at me from a golf course because he didn't like the conditions. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta go back to being a loan officer. It was just that done, right? Because I just couldn't handle, like, I could hear the golf course, I could hear him, you know what I mean? And then he's mad at the conditions. But let's get back to the topic at hand here. So when we look at the women loan officers, right? Here's another fact that I found, which was interesting. Even with the increase of women in the business, sales business, women are earning 88% of what men earn in the same roles. And I thought that was pretty astonishing, given this day and time that we're in.
I think that's across the board, Fabi. I don't think that's not just limited to women LOs. I
would definitely agree with that. So the question is why? It's such a weird way to frame it, right? It's like, why is that still a like kind of accepted?
I'll give you an example why. And this was shared at a conference that I attended recently. 2 people applied to the position, a man and a woman. Both have the same qualifications. 2 offer letters went out. One offer letter was $25,000 more, and it was a man and a woman. And when when they were reviewing this, they were asked, why is the woman's offer letter $25,000 less? They have the same qualifications. And the answer came back, she didn't ask for more.
She didn't ask for more.
She didn't negotiate more.
Wow.
Women tend to feel grateful. Oh my God, they want me. They're willing to pay me this much. Great, I'm going to accept it. Men will negotiate.
Wow.
They'll come back. Another example to give you.
Is it because maybe the man the man, I guess, have more offers, or they're looking at multiple offers, whereas the women are just like grateful because someone offered them? Or I mean,
no, it's just women typically accept. They don't negotiate. That's the commonality that I hear. Men and women applying to jobs. A man will look at a job description and figures out, oh, I've got about 30% of this. I'm going to apply. I've got it. A woman, if she doesn't have at least 75% of the qualifications that they're asking for, of the things, she won't even apply to the position. It's just a mindset that we need to change. And this is whether it's, in sales, in technology, in whatever industry. This is industry agnostic. It's very interesting to hear those kind of comments, those kind of stories, because it resonates with what's happening in our industry, in our world these days.
But Corrina, I mean, you're the owner of a company. I mean, and obviously you're a female owner, so that's fine, right? But there's not a distinction between, I'm going to give a man loan officer this many bips and a female loan officer this many bips. Is that? I mean, I don't see how that could change.
No, but here's what I'd say. So I did a really great interview with our friend Candy, and she did an article. So I teach on this, and forgive me for in advance, Fabi. So as I call it the dude theory and the EB and the EB theory. It doesn't mean you're a dude or EB, and EB stands for me as emotional bitch. So it doesn't mean you're a guy or a girl. But in sales, customers like to sometimes have that authoritative, whether it be a female or a male. And that dude theory, we always say, God, how did that guy get away with being a loan officer for 5 years? And he really doesn't educate or handhold or do this. And where we're more emotionally tied to some things, you know what I'm saying? So I think on that side of things, I don't look at it as far as male and female. I hire versus the role of, are they going to be kind of the dude theory or the EB theory? Where do I need a little bit of that? And sometimes I pair people like that too. So it just really depends. But going back to my first gig with only 2 females there, and it took us 9 months to get hired, we were closing in our 9th month the same as every senior LO in that company, and he would not pay us senior money. He only would pay us junior money. So, and I said, so what do we got to do? Well, you got to do it for a year. Well, I just showed you we could do it. We just boosted 3 LOs, and we also did our own production. So we're doing it of 3 LOs, and so I think too, it depends on what you look at, but hiring based on that, I think for me, it depends on what category they're in to relate to the consumer on my end. So it's not really male or female. But
one of the things that I've noticed is that male loan officers, and this is no dig against male loan officers, I was one, right? We seem to have a much broader brush, and we're like willing to go talk to 25 people and see if we can get one loan out of it. And when I've coached female loan officers, they're more meticulous and they want everything to be kind of perfect. And if they're going to talk to somebody, it should turn into a loan app. Right? And the male loan officers seem to just kind of go after everything. Like, just go get the big wide net and bring it all in and let the processor sort it out. And then the processor's yelling at me like, this loan officer sucks. He's wasting my time. He gave me garbage, right?
Yeah. But they brush off rejection easier. Women carry it more, right? So you can go through 25 people and get 10 rejections, when women are like, after the second rejection, they're like, I need to do a better job, or I need to figure out how to finesse this, or I need to figure out how to relate better, right?
Yeah.
So,
and they question themselves, and they start saying, am I good enough? Am I the right person for this job?
So let's turn to Carolina, because by the way, just FYI, she is a top performing loan officer. I don't want to, I don't want to not make sure people understand that we're talking to one of the top loan officers, not only in the company, but also in the country. She's been recognized by outside industries and organizations. I know you're in the top for NARAP, and you were mentioning the thing in the Scotsman Guide. So you and rejection. Let's talk about you, Carolina. This is about you now. The next 45 minutes is all about Carolina. No, just kidding. This is actually some kind of call for Carolina, anyway. But so, how do you handle rejection? I mean, you're up there, so you must be getting a lot of times where people say no, or I'm going somewhere else, or I got a better rate. How do you deal with the rejection?
So we go back to what they were saying. After the second rejection, you are questioning yourself. What are you doing wrong and what you can do better? So every day in my head is constantly, what can I do? Why is this agent not calling me? Then I have to call them, and then I have to take them out. So it's an always constant doubting yourself. It happens to all of them. I have 6 loan officers. I have 7 loan officers, and 5 of them are girls, right? Women. And every day I have to be on a call with them, or every other day I have to talk to them. We have to lift our spirits up. And when there's a rejection, then you learn from it. And that's how we take it. We change it. Okay, what happened? Oh, it was the rate. Oh, it was this. You always try to give an excuse of what it was and what you can do better. But it's really hard because we don't have a lot of women in hiring positions bringing those examples to us, right? Being that rejection, it's okay that you can do it, but when a boy rejects you, when you're starting dating and a boy rejects you cry for like a week, and you listen to the song like forever, right? Even if you only went on one date. So it's like, so rejection is really hard because we have to prove so many things. I have to prove my mom and dad that I can do it. I have to prove my husband that I can take care of the house. To prove to my kids that they can work and that they can maintain their house. So it's proving. It's a constant proving. I have to prove to my superiors that I can be in the top 10 and still run a branch and still produce, because otherwise they're gonna be, okay, you can produce, you're coming too many issues with your loans. And so you are always proving yourself. Every time I open that email or that computer, is like, okay, what do we need to do better? So it's a constant reminder.
I think as a male loan officer, I was always trying to prove myself, right? Still trying to prove myself today. Sometimes like the podcast, right? 2.5 years ago, I didn't even know what a podcast was. And then once we started, I wanted to make it better. Every episode had to be better. And I had to prove to somebody that I could do this podcast. And next thing I know, I'm in the top 10 here and over there. And people asking me to do things about how to do a podcast. I think we're always proving. So what is it different between a man and a woman, Carolina, that you could maybe identify? I like the part about the rejection. Definitely understand that, right? And I have a 27-year-old daughter that does not handle rejection well.
The judgment of it.
I'm sorry, say that again.
We are judged so harsh. They judge us all the time. If I'm strict and I say something, they're like, okay, so you're a bitch. If I complain about something, then, oh, she's going through, her cycle. Like, they're always giving us something that you have to prove it faster. If a male makes a mistake, they have processing solving their problems. Easy as that. The male loan officers make a mistake. They call my processor and they're so sweet and so nice. That problem is solved. If a woman has a problem, the processor, they have to call and chat it out. And it's like solving it, right?
Yeah,
Where men can detach themselves from the loan. The woman cares for the loan. It's their baby. It's their kid. So they take care of that loan and that borrower so much. I'm not saying men don't, right? But on the outcome, we are judged so much. Oh, she's a woman. That's why. Just when you're driving and somebody drives man, I bet that's a woman. Exactly the same. We are judged all the time on everything that we do. So I think in the mortgage industry, we have to have more than two eyes out there. We have to, cover our corners and see that we're doing a better job,
So,
in
Suha,
everything that we did.
I want to come back to Suha here because I think I've either read something where you're really passionate about women supporting women in the mortgage business.
Yeah.
And so to what Carolina's saying is like the women processors are better supporting the man loan officers than they are the female loan officers, right? Which is kind of like contrary to what I think the spirit could be.
I would agree with that. That should not be the case. But yes, I am. Yeah, I am very, very passionate about paying it forward, especially. I mean, I like to help everybody, as you know, but I am really passionate about the young next generation that's entering our industry. I remember when I was young, back in, when I first started, even before I joined the mortgage industry, there was really nobody out there to help guide you, to help give you advice, to talk to you. Mentorship was not something that was really shared and talked about. And so it is something that I'm very passionate about because I appreciate now that I have mentors and coaches, how important that is to my, not just professional growth, but my personal growth. And when you are self-aware and when you trust yourself, when you believe in yourself, which comes with time and it comes with hearing from other people, then you grow, your confidence grows and you're able to do more. You're able to handle situations in a better way. I'm not saying you're not going to get emotional. I still get emotional. I was on stage in May and I bawled my eyes out in front of 100 women executives. It's out there. You can watch it. We do get emotional, but we have to pay it forward and we have to support one another. And we have to look out for each other. I mean, I know you've heard of it. Have your tribe, have your board of directors, have your clique of a group, whether it's men or women, who support you, elevate you, help you, guide you. That's important for everyone to have. You need to have somebody who's your cheerleader. You need to have somebody who gives you a little perspective outside, who tells you when you're messing up, who tells you when you're doing the right thing. And they're different people. It's just, we need that support system so that we can thrive and then help others around us thrive as well.
So let me throw some names out here. Like, I love Christy Furco, right? I think she's one of the most dynamic speakers I've had a chance to interact with, right? Patty Arviello from New American, right? Marianne from Guild. I serve on a committee with her on Zinix Mortgage Academy. Our dear friend Laura Brandeo. I mean, these are some powerful women in the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
And are they not making the case of supporting one another? I mean, are they not supporting? I mean, they seem to be supporting one another really aggressively.
Absolutely.
With passion.
And yes, they are passionate about supporting not just one another, but ours and the next generation. I mean, that's really, for me, that's where it grew out from. My passion for actually helping others grew from watching Christine and Laura and Patty, Marsha Davies, I mean, Karen Dice, Sue Woodard. There's so many. I mean, I could keep going with names. It's just you see that community and you see that cohesiveness and that support, and you want to propagate that. You want to be a part of it. You want to not just embrace it for yourself. You want to come with a mindset of abundance, not scarcity. You want to make sure that you are actually helping others thrive, because when you help somebody else, it makes you feel more aware and more happy yourself because you're helping them achieve their goals.
Yeah. So
God, I'm going to hate myself because I know I didn't mention Susie Lindblom and Kim
oh, that's
Hoffman.
okay.
And I mean, there's so many women.
You know,
Jamie Kavanaugh,
can I
you know,
tell you
and
something that
Michelle.
when I interviewed for Planet, so Susie Lindblom and Mike Lee were interviewing me, right?
Yep.
And about 3 hours into the interview, so Mike Lee was a Korean gentleman and Susie Lindblom was a female. And I looked at them. I said, "Where's the white guys?" Because there was no white man in the room. You know what I mean? It was me, Susie, and Mike talking about the future of Planet Home Lending at that time.
Yep.
And it was one of those weird moments that we all realized that it was three minorities. You know what I mean? And it was a very amazing moment, and you had to memorialize that moment. And I know I always make light of stuff because that's what I do, but it wasn't lost on me that I was being interviewed by two minorities for this position.
Long before diversity and inclusion and equity and all of that.
Yeah, long before all that. But I mean, it was obvious to us that something was happening. And so let's go back to Corrina here. What does a company have to do? Because you're the owner of a company, right? So that's why I'm asking you this. To retain female employees. I mean, look, I mean, our industry is notorious for transitions, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
Boom, 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 right? So is there something that as an employer that you could do, that you could share with the audience today, that if you do this, you're more likely to retain your employees if they're females? I mean,
I think part of that is going to be on the relationship management side, right? So I've been really promoting this year is how to put people in the right seat. So, and if you have them in the right seat, how can you give them the correct affirmations, right? And what that looks like. We have to be okay with where we are. Some of us, like we said, we always strive to do better in what we do, but we also have to teach them it's okay to be who they are, meaning they don't have to be me. They don't have to be an owner. They don't have to be a manager. They can be really great in the seat they are. When we're always, I think, raised we're not good enough, right? And that's what I'm hearing here. So I think part of retaining good people and good women is letting them know where their position stands within themselves along with the company and how they can be okay with where they are. Because, you know, not everybody's going to be an entrepreneur, and not everybody, I don't want to process. I don't want to work on some of the operations.
Have you ever processed before, Corrina?
Yeah, I processed all my deals for 5 years.
No, not your deals, but some other loan officers' deals.
Oh yeah, all my loan officers. Yeah, in the company. Yeah, in 2002 to 2000.
Can I hire you as a processor?
No. But I mean, does that make sense? Like, I mean, we sometimes too, we're always striving to be better. So going to the next company or going to the next level, it may not always be really the grass is greener on the other side. It may just be someone didn't give them the right education tools or even affirmations to be in the seat they are in, right?
Yeah.
I think if I can add to that, sorry,
Sure.
Bobby, if I can add to that, a lot of times when we're starting out, it's a job. We're just happy to have a job, and we're not really thinking about where am I going to be in 5 years or 10 years. And it's as owners of companies, as senior leadership in companies, it's incumbent on us to make sure that we are helping those next generation figure out what they want to do and how they want to do it. So to Corrina's point, finding the right role for someone, it's not shameful that, hey, I don't want to process. I'm maybe better at business development. Can I try that? To cross-train, to move people around is not a bad thing. It actually shows that you care for them. and that you care for their success, that you're helping them build that bridge to their success. Sometimes they need to go out and get some more training. Sometimes they need to shadow someone. You give them the environment where they can do that, and they will thrive and they will succeed. But if all it is a job for them, it's a 9 to 5, that's all they're going to do. When they don't know what it is that they want and what their purpose is, it just becomes a job.
Yeah, it's such a great point, Sue. I'm glad you got that. Yeah, that's a great point. And that kind of leads me to something I want to ask Carolina. Now, I know Carolina really well because we work for the same company and all that kind of stuff, right? But you have a very close relationship with Alvin and Kieran, the managing partner. Alvin's a managing partner of the company. Is that part of your, like, a need that fulfills you, that you're more than just an employee, it's more than just a job, right? Kind of what Suha's saying, right? Like there's a balance between a personal life and a work life that kind of first option fills that moment for you.
Exactly. So when I first joined before I joined the company, I knew them 2 years prior. And for 2 years, they were like, hey, look at us. I was like, stop. We can be friends. This is what we're going to do. I'm not ready to move. I'm not ready to change the company. I'm good where I'm at. And we kept on going out and we started as friends. And when I made the decision, I made it because they made me feel like family, because I was going to their family events. So I knew their morals. I knew their judgments. I knew what they were trying to do. And I feel that I have a voice. Even if I wasn't a top producer, I know I will still have a voice. And that was very important to me from the place that I was coming from. From where I was coming from, I didn't have a voice. I was just a number. So that made a huge difference. And I think that's why it made me excel here and grow my team so much, because I feel supported.
Yeah. Carolina, what for your voice, I mean, that's such a powerful statement that you have a voice. And I think when we say that, I mean, I don't want to leave that kind of, for me, being an interviewer, I hear things. So when you say I have a voice, define that for me. What does that mean for Carolina?
It's even just being an ear to my issues when I have issues within my own team, an ear when I have to hire somebody, and I just don't want to call HR, right? I want a personal opinion. I want somebody that knows me, because I have a very different personality. I'm always singing and screaming, and I'm very positive. So not everybody likes my personality. It's okay. And I learned that.
Who doesn't like your personality? Give me their name and number.
They're not us anymore.
But I think that's a really important point. That's a very important point that you say, Carolina, because everybody wants to be heard, respected, and acknowledged. And you found that. And that helps you thrive, from what I'm hearing.
Yes.
You're accepted as you are. You're embraced for who Carolina is. The culture, which is a very important aspect of any organization, helps you feel you're part, you belong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One of the things, I mean, and Suha was talking about the word diversity, right? And Tony Thompson, the founder of NAMBA, and I, we were talking one night, and I said to him, I feel like diversity has become a buzzword. Like everyone's talking about diversity. I mean, look, I'm a minority. I get it, right? Thank you. Everyone's diverse. Got it. Move on. You know what I mean? And he says to me, Bobby, diversity is good. Inclusive is better.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I really to me, that just also, there was a paradigm shift in my universe that exact moment, right? Yeah. And I had to understand what he was talking about. It's like diversity is like you're playing the music that I listen to at the dance. Inclusion is you're saying, hey, Fabi, come and dance and put the record on that you want to play, dance to. And that's the difference. And I think sometimes companies miss that, right? Is they have a diverse group, but they don't have an inclusive group where a voice can be heard, like Carolina was saying. I think, I want to come back to Corrina on that, because I want to give you a shot here also, because I know you have a very diverse and inclusive group, right? And so how did you come up with that idea that you needed to have all voices heard as an owner?
To me, and you know what, let me go back to, I had a hire that's, of course, no longer with me. And one of the things they said to me, and I'll never forget, is, why do you discuss your future or your powerful decisions with your team members? And I said, because they have a right to know what I'm, one, working on, or two, who they are going to be working with. If they place their family and their income on my plate, it's my job to take care of that, right? And that's what I feel. So giving them part of a say so, even though I'm 100% owner, I feel like that also makes them, and just like Carolina said, makes them feel inclusive, right? That they have a voice. And I believe that's another part of keeping everybody in the right place, the right seat at the right time, but not forgetting they're there, right? So how can they have their own say so and what that looks like? So that's
was
a
it an
big deal.
organic decision to become inclusive, or did you like consciously say, this is how I want my company to look in X amount of time?
For me, I think it's more of, this is how I wanted it to look in X amount of time. And in doing that, the discussions came along with, well, that's not where I wanted to go, or, this is where I wanted to go. So that's why also not everybody will want to come work with me, right? Because I may not make the same decision twice, or I may not make the same decision all the time. But I love the fact that everybody in my company has a say so as far as some of the things that we're doing, because it does make a difference that they don't feel excluded.
So what are some of the stresses of leadership? And I think we're coming up to the end here. Yeah, we are. So I got to make this quick. So let's I hate to end on a stress note. Sorry, guys. This after a little while ago, someone said to me, stop saying work-life balance, Fob. Say life-work balance. Put life first. Don't put work first. Because that
Actually,
introduces
use harmony, not balance. Use harmony.
I like that. Okay, so life, work, harmony. I'm going to have to rechange my entire mind. So let's talk about the stresses of women in leadership, right? Because I have to imagine that there's different stresses for a woman in a leadership role, Corrina, than there is for a man in a leadership role. I know last time you were on the show, you talked about not only is it my children, Fob, but it's also taking care of my mother, right?
Yes.
And so it's multifaceted. It's not just I can leave the company and just go unwind at home.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I support 4 generations with my income. So there's nothing I can do that's going to really unrelieve all that stress. But I do feel like, I think in where you're going with this, the stress reliever and finding the harmony is trying to figure out how to let go of some of that. Right. And as women, we harbor all that, we carry it. I do feel like we have a little bit more of a conscience as far as, instead of letting it go onto the processor or do this or do that, I feel like we harbor a lot more of that. So also delegating was really hard for me to learn, for a long time. So I think for that is we cause a lot of our own stress. And I feel like, in my eyes, some of the guys that I have on staff and had employed before, they do let go a little easier, right? So for me, the harmony is trying to find a little bit about what I like. So I love what I do. I love relationship management, and that's what I do, right? That's where I feel like my strong suit is right now, is the relationship management part. So on that end, then I hired someone else, to be COO, someone else to be processing manager. I couldn't do all those things. So letting go to find a little bit of that.
Makes sense. Carolina, how are you with stress? I mean, you're 24/7, 7 days a week, or do you turn it off sometimes?
24/7, 6 days a week. I had to turn it off on Sundays due to my husband's request. I do it when he's sleeping. But I do. Look, I'm a stress driver. Like all my team tells me, you like the hard loans. I'm like, yeah, I like them. I like them when they say no and I can say yes. And I stay hours looking at Fannie Mae guidelines or looking for the right non-QM. I thrive into stress. So to relieve it is to know that I have the right people in the right positions, that I don't really have to worry about the little things. The big things, I like them. And that's why I haven't been able to stop producing, because I really, really like that. I like the adrenaline of it. So let's talk like in 10 years and I'll let you know. But for now, I love it.
Yeah, a friend of mine would call you what was called a stress junkie. that if things are going
Yeah.
peaceful, you gotta
Yeah, I
pick it up
think-
somehow to cause stress. So, all right, guys, listen, we are out of time. We went over like a little bit more than I wanted to, but this conversation was really, really good. I hope you guys had a good time here. We covered a lot of different issues and a lot of different topics for myself. Thank you all for taking the time. Corrina Carter, Suha Zehl, Carolina Vergara, thank you so much once again for coming on the show. JP, if you could do the magic and get us out of here, brother.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of Laugh, Lend, and Eat, the podcast. You can now enjoy Fabi's article, Laugh, Lend, and Eat, featured in the Vision magazine. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where each month we are giving away some swag for our lucky listener to show off. Thank you to our sponsors for their continued support, First Option Mortgage and One Good One Recruiting. And remember, you have to be something, so